Welcome to the show. I'm JJ Flazanes.
I'm still Doug Sandler.
Yeah, you are Doug Sandler, and I appreciate that about you.
All day long.
All day, every day. Most of the time. Today's
Wait, when am I not that? When am I not Doug Sandler?
probably when you're making fun of me, maybe.
Oh, that's true. Then I'm JJ Flazanes.
Right.
Welcome.
And you like to do that often, actually,
I do.
make fun of me.
Are you going to edit all this out?
Mm-mm.
No, you're keeping this in. Wow. Okay.
Not all of it.
I will shut up. I will just let you do what you do best.
Well, we're going to do a Q&A show because we had 3 questions. However, we're only doing 2 of them. And the reason is because the third question was a money question about manifestation. And I'm feeling the need to either do it as a solo show or wait till they're more business type questions. So today's conversation and questions are really going to center around relationships and love and soulmates and guilt and things like that.
Wow. That's a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. So let's start with T. T wrote a very long email to update me on what had been going on with her since our March Manifestation Challenge. For those of you that have been listening to the show for a while, you know that I run a free 30-day manifestation challenge. We are in one right now. It's about to end, so no, you cannot join. However, the next one is in September. So if you want to get on the list for that one, you can go to jjflazanes.com/30day, 30DAY. However, you won't be let into the Facebook group until probably middle of August, just to give you some time to watch the videos and get acclimated. So you'll sort of sit in the wings in the Facebook group. So just be aware in case you want to sign up now. And so she had done the manifestation challenge and wanted to just update me on all the things that had happened. And here's what she wrote for her question. At what point did you know you were making the right choice by choosing Doug as your partner and vice versa after your split/divorce? I've never jumped into our new relationship so quickly after a breakup, and I know in my heart I wouldn't have made that decision if I didn't think it was right or that I manifested it. I have made sure it wasn't due to a rebound or poor distraction, and that's why I took it slow. And the person and I were friends previous to starting to date. I'm still mourning the breakup and change that has occurred. I think it's helpful now my partner is supportive and understanding, and I can be vulnerable with him in what I'm going through. Any tips to help move on from my last relationship and ways to find clarity, even though I was the one who chose to leave? I almost feel guilty that I'm now with someone else that has provided me thus far with the things I knew I was capable of having, and trying to get over the fact that my partner failed at those things time and time again. A very hard situation. Thanks so much again, and also thanks for sharing her testimonial on Instagram.
One of the things that comes to mind immediately is that word guilty, and I think that people will attribute some sort of worthiness. Is that a word? Worthiness? Yeah. If they feel worthy based upon them being guilty. So if you're guilty coming out of a relationship, does that mean that you do not feel worthy of a good relationship? Why wouldn't you?
I think that we all have issues of worthiness to some degree. I think that part of our journey in life is to get to that full aspect of feeling worthy of everything and anything. I think the whole law of attraction is about worthiness being reflected out and what we attract back in. So I think it's a good question. In terms of its relationship to guilt, guilt is really the way that we punish ourselves for something we think we did wrong, or in the case of your mentioning worthiness, or for us feeling not worthy. So we use guilt to keep us in check. Guilt is really kind of a useless emotion in that it keeps you in victim mode because you're thinking that you don't deserve something, or you've done something wrong and need to pay for it, or someone else has something over you. Too often we're projecting onto others and giving them less power and giving ourselves more power about what gets attracted by them. Remember, as much as you're a powerful manifester and attractor of your own things, so is everybody else. And you are not in charge of their point of attraction. Who they are and who they are in the world and what they're emanating and what they're attracting is on them, not on you. So that's where the guilt comes in sometimes, I think, because we feel like, well, I've done this work and I've grown myself and now I'm getting better things that I want, things that make me happy. I'm getting what I want. And then I turn and look at you, X person, and think, you could have this too, but you don't. And then the story becomes, well, I'm now happy and you're not. And I wish you would have stepped up and you didn't. And maybe who am I to have it and he's not to have it, or she, whatever the case may be. So when it comes to guilt, I would just invite everyone to really look at why you hold it against yourself. Like why have the guilt? Now I'm not going to say I didn't have guilt. And T, from your emails, I feel like you have listened to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. Because the email that you wrote, this question, is literally what I've been processing for the last year since Doug has been here. And you can hear it on all of the shows that Doug and I have done together, many of which have been published on Spirit, Purpose, and Energy, but not all of them. So he came on the scene episode 55 on women, men, and relationships, and my Sacred Contract episode was 54. So maybe take a look at some of those episodes and see if you've missed any of them, because I literally break down in tears on several episodes in the last year since Doug and I have been doing this, processing my own feelings about the situation. So maybe it's really sadness that you feel, because when you love someone, you want the best for them. And especially when you feel like you can provide it, often you're sad that you didn't get to do it, or that you feel like your efforts were wasted, or your efforts weren't appreciated. And in reality, what's happened is your efforts have created your now. And everything along the way was that other person's choice to participate or not, and to have their own point of attraction, which you're not in charge of. And so we get too attached to what the story is supposed to be. I was attached to what the story was supposed to be. I was never getting divorced. Do you know how long I held that? It's one of the reasons why I've created the show and learned all the things I've learned, because I was not getting divorced. But when push came to shove, and after so long, I said to myself, I love myself enough to know that I deserve to have a partner who wants to be married to me, who wants to work at this, because I can't be the only one in the world who understands that marriage takes work. It's textbook. It's in every book. So I had to process my feelings. Now, up to the first question that you asked, I'm going to ask this of Doug. So Doug, at what point did you know that you were making the right decision by choosing me as your partner after your split/divorce?
I don't think that you ever realize it until you're in it. That's the issue. You hope that what you're doing is right, and you hope that you're going to get the things that you were looking for in the new relationship, which is why I got involved in the relationship. I saw this person that had, an amazing track record of being a great communicator, someone that could. That was willing to educate and to be educated, someone that was willing to work at a relationship. And those are things that I didn't have in my past relationship. So in the beginning, from what I had experienced with you as a friend prior to us starting to see each other, I saw that you were someone that was doing those things. And I was willing to take the chance. So I don't know that you know until you're involved, but I also know that there is more than one person for you that's out there in the world. I don't really feel like there is only one person that will fulfill all the qualifications of a relationship that you need. So if you hadn't been that person, at some point, I would have either gotten the support that I needed myself and found that person in my life, or I would have figured out that it was you and leaned heavily into our relationship. So I don't know that you know until you get involved that the next person is the one. Does T know that this guy that she's seeing now, this person that she's seeing now, does she know that he is the one, or she's looking to fill some of the void that she didn't have in her past relationship with this new person? He's supportive. He's communicative. He's a lot of those things that he's willing to work at it. A lot of those things that her past relationship was not.
Well, he sounds like you, and she sounds like me in this situation. And one of the things that I think we said over and over again, especially within the first, I'd say 10 episodes we did together, we laughed and said, we don't know this isn't a rebound. It just may be the rebound that lasts for the rest of our lives. We don't know that.
Right.
Is it a rebound? Of course it's a rebound. Does that mean a rebound won't work? I mean, let's look at, I was practicing a vibration that I wasn't living every day. And I hadn't manifested the embodiment of the vibration I was focused on, but I was practicing it. And when the timing was right, someone came into the situation that did embody it, and it's a match. So I got what I was focused on. I got what I wanted. And because of the way that it happened, I've spent the last couple of years really trying to tune into my own intuition and my own connection to source, and to be guided by what feels good and what comes to me on a rollerblade, and what ideas I get in the shower, and what hits I get that seem odd and weird and but right, and I may not know what and how to do it, but I know it feels like the right next thing. So I've been strengthening those muscles over the last couple of years. And so when this happened, to me, it was absolute perfect divine guidance and timing, and there was no question. Didn't mean I didn't have a little guilt. Didn't mean I wasn't still sad and angry. Doesn't mean I was still wrecked by the idea of ruining the perfect not getting divorced record and failing at something.
And the other thing that I like about what T is saying is that face the guilt and do it anyway. You know, it's the difference between having the guilt and having the sadness and having the anger and being stuck in that ugliness that you're going through. And it's something different to have that guilt. She says I don't know if she says she almost feels guilt or she feels guilt. I guess it's kind of very close to the same thing anyway. But if you have the guilt but do it anyway, I think that shows you're growing. I think that shows that you are going to a spot where you may not necessarily be the most comfortable thing for you, T, but you're doing it anyway. And I applaud you for making that move. And there will be many more things like that, whether it's relationships or career decisions or money decisions or any other decisions that you make. There are going to be a number of times where you're going to face the fear and do it anyway, or face the guilt, or face the anger, or face the sadness and work through it. Because I'm sure JJ has said this many times. I know I have. Is, you know, in order to get through it, you got to go. In order to get to it, you got to go through it. And I think you got to face that. Okay, what does it feel for me to feel guilty? What is this guilt all about? Why am I feeling this guilt? And what happens if I actually work through it? And again, I applaud her for working through it.
Just ask yourself, is there a way that you feel like you failed? I know for me, I had to get to the point where I literally could surrender in full respect of myself and say, I've really done everything I can think of, everything I can find, everything that makes sense to me, everything that I'm capable of doing to a certain extent. There becomes a point in which, when you're giving too much to the other person, not giving too much, but I was losing a little bit on myself. But I was okay with that because, again, I never blamed anybody for how I felt, and I was a happy person throughout the whole thing anyway. It didn't affect who I am in the world. It affected my relationship, and I kept it in that. It only affected my relationship, and I wanted a better relationship, and I know he did too. But again, there's different ideas and beliefs about why that can or can't happen and how that can or can't happen. And you can't really control when someone else decides that they don't believe what you do and they don't want to go down the same path that you're on.
And wasn't one of the things that was said is that I don't think that having a relationship should be that hard. It shouldn't be this hard. And that probably was it's going to require work. And I think T is willing to work at it. She probably was willing to work at it, but this guy wasn't willing to do it. And, you know, unless she just thought that the only way for me to get what I want is to find somebody new. And again, I think that it doesn't sound like she's that person. It sounds like she was willing to do the work. She is willing to do the work. She was willing to do the work because she feels guilty. And that's probably why she was willing to do the work, but she can't make him do the work in order to get there as well. I wonder how he feels. You know, I wonder at what it is that story that he is telling himself. Is it the same that you experienced, JJ, and that you heard the words, I don't think it should be this hard. I just don't think it should require this much work. That's just messed up.
Well, okay, in defense of everyone, everyone, we all have different belief systems about things, and we interpret information differently. And, you know, when it was told to me that it shouldn't be this hard, here's what I want to say to all of you who are listening. You listen to this show because you understand that there's a depth, there's a consciousness, there's a journey, there's a growth and expansion you're called to be on, which is why you were searching something which somehow led you here. Does it mean it's hard? Well, that's all relative, isn't it? Hard for me is living in a situation where you feel trapped, living in a situation and I didn't feel trapped. In fact, I felt like I was free, but I felt like there was only so much I could do at certain points in time. And I also have experienced healing in ways which I understand what it's like to be on the other side of the mountain. You look at the mountain, you think, God, that's so high. It's going to take so much effort. Then you get to the top and you're like, oh my God, look at this view. It's amazing. And then the way down's easy because the gravity helps to take you down. So it's not as much muscular effort or cardiovascular effort. But until you get to the top, you're just looking at the problem. You're not realizing how much easier it is on the other side of it. And for a lot of people that struggle with not wanting to really face some of the emotional things, and again, guys, it's not going to be for everybody. Not everyone in this lifetime is going to face their stuff. Maybe this isn't the time in their evolution that they're supposed to face it. And it isn't for us to decide who's going to and who's not going to. So I'd say focus on the fact that you've attracted somebody who does want to. And the person that you were with, possibly you planted a seed and you were part of that person's growth in the future, where now maybe they're going to think about it differently and you help them manifest a better relationship than you could have ever had, because he'll be more in alignment with the next person than he was with you because you helped to uncover some of those things.
Good luck with that. All I have to say is that's not your problem. It's not your problem anymore. Just like your exes, just like my exes, it's like it's not your job to solve their shit. You can do the best that you can with you, and when you're in the relationship, to work on the relationship. But now that it's not a relationship, you got to let it go. You got to let it go.
But she's having guilt because she's the one that left. So if she felt like she left him or abandoned him, I'm saying that she could also look at it, rather than looking at it as I've abandoned him and I've left him because he wasn't up to speed with what I want to do with my life and relationship. You could look at it as you planted a seed and you possibly helped to uncover areas in his life where in the future he'll want to look at. That's just a way to know that you're part of his long process. You're part together, his journey. You are one chapter or 10 chapters on his big, long journey, and he helped you to get where you are. Without him, you couldn't have the relationship you have now.
Without that clause, there is no sacred contract.
Right. I mean, you've heard me say this before with Doug. If it wasn't for the way his last relationship ended, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. So everything had to happen exactly the way it happened to lead us to this divine and perfect timing moment of our journeys together. And our paths are all now together for however long that they're together. And I wouldn't get so wrapped up in, if he had time to step up. And here's what I'm going to say, because I said this to someone else recently, another client who ended a relationship, and they had an awesome conversation at the end of it and really could come to the table with their wounds and with why they couldn't commit and their fears. And it was a really great conversation. But you never know what's going to happen. All you know is that right now you have to do what's best for you, and you have to follow the path you're being called to and the intuitive hits about your own growth. And then from there, you let the cards fall where they're going to. It isn't, you don't know what's going to happen in a year, 2 years, 5 years from now. Sometimes people get back together because they've taken a journey and they've ended up on a path that all of a sudden they're right now. The timing has changed. So I would just focus on, basic law of attraction says that what you focus on expands. So when you're looking at, think of a situation, and this is said all the time, Abraham talks about this all the time. If you think about a parent thinking about a child having a problem or being hurt or abducted or something, you'll never feel good thinking about that. That thought will always produce fear and dismay and worry, always. So why would you choose to keep thinking about something like that brings you pain? Unless you make peace with it. In that scenario, there's really nothing to make peace with. But in your scenario, if thinking about your ex the way that you are brings you pain and guilt, either stop thinking about it, focus your attention on the new person, or make peace with and change the story about what happened and write it differently. Because right now your pain is coming from your interpretation. And until you change and put his point of view or give it a broader perspective, maybe a divine one where you are an angel coming in to help him for his future and vice versa, you need to take a little broader view, because the pain is only being caused by the fact that somebody has wronged somebody, someone has lost something, and all is well. The world is fine. Everything is fine.
Thank you, T. Great question. Wow. So similar to the situations that happened in both JJ's life and my life as well.
Next question is from Ivory. She says, "Hey, JJ, I had a question that I hope you get to talk about on your podcast. If not, I'd love to hear from you anyway. I'm going through a transitional period of coming out of a heartbreak from a soulmate of mine. Although we were only together for a short time, our love felt like a marriage. As you know, soulmate love is very powerful and really difficult to let go and move on. I've been dating and seeing someone on a regular basis for about a month now, but I'm still sexually tied to my ex and emotionally not able to move forward. What are your best letting go strategies that helped you get through letting go of your husband and allowing yourself to be free from the thoughts of loneliness? Thank you so much, and your podcast is my guidance.
Let him go. Let him go.
Well, I didn't have a lot of time from the moment I said, do you want to be married anymore? And we should probably separate till Doug came in the picture. However, I did a lot of processing for about 3 or 4 months prior to that in anticipation of that conversation. And one could say that I felt lonely and abandoned for, the last 1.5 to 2 years of my marriage because of sort of our core wounds and how they weren't meshing with each other. We both had habits that didn't necessarily complement or help us move forward. So I didn't have that alone time and feeling of loneliness. But what I did have at the beginning of any relationship is the remnants of the last relationship. Now, you're ingrained in this energy. You have a energetic vibrational set point that you are used to, habits, patterns, conversations, ways of being that are, and for you, talking about this soulmate relationship, it was super powerful. And I see that she also told me she's a Leo sun, a Virgo rising, and a Pisces moon. Let me just get this out of the way right now. Your Pisces moon, Pisces being water, Pisces being the last of all the signs, the epitome of everyone's good and bad stuff, and also the most likely to be an addict because Pisces can feel everybody's something, like very empathic. All water signs are, which means when you don't protect your own feelings, you get bombarded with other people's energies that, again, are overwhelming to you. So as a Pisces moon, someone who deals with their emotions from a Pisces point of view, you probably have very manic tendencies. Now, I don't know you. I don't know you, so I'm not making a judgment. There are a lot of Pisces and Cancers and Scorpios that have somewhat manic emotional roller coasters because you have this connection and it's so overwhelming and it feels so good. And maybe you lack earth. Now you have a Virgo rising and a Leo sun, but maybe in other ways you lack earth or you lack balance and you're too empathic and you get this big wave like it's crashed over you and now you're completely wet and somewhat drowning. When you have those strong feelings, we lose ourselves in really being able to see the bigger picture. So I'd invite you to revel in the positives of that feeling, but don't give the power away to think that because it felt so good and so strong that it was healthy. Because it doesn't mean because that's like the definition of love is that we get a little crazy at first. Like we don't see the things that we should see because love blinds us, right? That's the whole love blinds and things that logically would make sense to you all of a sudden go out the window because you're in love and you have these feelings and they're so euphoric and it's the best drug in the world.
What is your love language? Yes, it's all of them early on.
Yeah, it's like the best drug in the world, love is. But that doesn't mean it's healthy and that doesn't mean it's balanced. And so I'd invite you, one of the ways for you to let go is to actually see it for what it is and see the holes in what might have happened. Sometimes, especially for water signs, when you fall in love, it's like a drug. And I would say that's for pretty much for lots of people, unless you have a lot of protective mechanisms to protect your heart and you're untrusting. But when someone actually opens up and feels their feelings of love, it's so intoxicating. It is addictive. You just want more and more of that because it's free. It doesn't cost anything. There's no calories. You don't got to smoke anything or drink anything. It's just like you want to bottle it and sell it. It is so powerful. But that feeling is really our wounds that are complementing each other. It's those childhood wounds that that say, hey, I recognize this person, I recognize that energy. And so I bet that if you were to take that relationship and analyze it just a little bit deeper, you would see some of the things that would happen that would change those feelings. So right now, rather than fantasizing about how perfect it was, maybe take a step forward into looking at how it probably would have had issues that could have been solved, of course, but things that wouldn't have worked for you. Do the reverse of manifestation. Look at it and say, well, what wouldn't I have liked? Let's play the scenario out 3 months, 5 years, 10 years down the line. I had a guy that I was interested in who was emotionally unavailable. And I knew pretty early on, and it was really great sex and it was really great chemistry, but he was emotionally unavailable. He would literally run away. And when I looked at, are you someone I'm going to trust to be in a relationship with to actually do any work? I knew the answer was no. I never told him I loved him. I never felt like I was in love with him. But I sure had that chemical like, oh my God, this sex is amazing and this chemistry is amazing. But I also could tell by his behavior that this wasn't going to be a healthy relationship for that reason.
Well, so what is she asking though? So it's
letting go strategies. What are your best letting go strategies that helped you get through letting go of your husband and allowing yourself to be free from the thoughts of loneliness?
What was the reason that they broke up?
That she does not say.
Well, that's what I would want to know. I'd want to know, was he not faithful? Was he not communicative? Was he not good sexually? What was it? What were the reasons why the relationship broke up? What made you look for whatever it was like I could tell you, as a part of my last relationship, I was closed. There was nothing open about me because there was too many things that I thought were so positive about the relationship that I was willing to not even see some of the things that were negative in the relationship that friends have told me. I can't believe you didn't see that. So I'm very curious what was problematic in her relationship.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask that same question, but since she's not here to tell us why she broke up with him in the first place, there's that saying that we all know. It's that people in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So I'd invite you to look at that for the soulmate, that possibly this was to stimulate your new level. When I first met my husband, I had not at that point had a depth of conversation about astrology and sort of ethereal things with other people. And especially he was a standard sort of white jock guy. I was dating Latins at the time who were dancers, and some of them were more spiritual. But, this did not fit the profile of the normal, Midwestern white jock kind of guy. So all of a sudden we're having what I'm considering a deeper conversation. And I got very excited about it. And all of our conversations after that also, even though I didn't think it was going to be him, helped me to elevate my belief that there was somebody out there who would have these conversations with me, that what I wanted did exist, that I could get to the level that I wanted. Because a lot of the times the reason why you're feeling lonely is that lack of hope that there is what you want out there, that it's available, that it's possible, that you don't think you can get better than you've already had. And I'd invite you to say that if you had something so amazing, build your manifestations off of that, utilize that, leverage that feeling that you had to get that next best match that fills all the boxes, that isn't a short period of time. Maybe this guy's reason for being in your life was to get you to think bigger, to get you to step into the next version of you and to motivate you to utilize those feelings in a new and more productive way.
I love that. What did you learn? What lessons did you learn from that past relationship? Use those lessons to help springboard you into this new relationship. Whether now her not feeling that charge from this new guy for whatever reason, because she's still emotionally and sexually attracted to her old man that's in her life, maybe that is also a signal saying that this next guy is not the right one. Maybe he is a season also. What did you call it? It was a
reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Maybe he was just helped her from a reason perspective get beyond that relationship. Maybe he's not a season. Maybe he is not a lifetime. Maybe he's just the reason why she's out of that relationship.
I think I talked about this on a show once with maybe the one with you and Bill, that when I learned how to get my needs met back in 1996 or 7, meaning on an emotional level, from Dr. Sri Carter Scott's If Love is a Game, These Are the Rules book, Now, it helped that I was living with my friend Sean, who was a really good friend of mine. So I had that male companionship that I didn't realize I wanted so badly. I had been used to, my boyfriend in college, he and I were together all the time. We were attached at the hip. We didn't have individual names. Our names were together. It was always like, where are the da-da-da-da, JJ and yeah. And so we were never apart. And that was 4.5 years, and I thought I was going to marry him. So after being in a relationship like that, where he was my best friend, moving to the next relationship, which was the complete opposite of that was completely dysfunctional, I did not understand my need for companionship until I was living with Sean. And then I'm living with him, and I'm realizing that I can date without having to hang out with them. I can actually test the waters, so to speak. We can do different things together. I can see how we connect in different ways in different scenarios, and I don't have to put up with them or hang out with them or force them to do the things I want to do because I have a companion in my roommate. All of a sudden, I became free to date. So my question for you, Ivory, would be, are you dating this guy because you feel the need for companionship and you're sort of settling? Because I know a lot of women and some men, you're not good daters because you feel like you're lying to somebody if you date more than one person.
That's how I am. I feel that way. Not that I have any experience with it.
You've got no experience with it.
But I would feel that way. That's how I would feel. I would feel that way. I would have a really hard time seeing more than one person at a time. I really would.
Well, I'm not saying you to sleep with everybody. It's just about having a couple dates to get to know somebody and see if you're compatible in different ways.
I feel like it's sneaky to do that.
What if you were totally upfront and you said, from both parties, hey, we're just dating. We're not exclusive. Let's just see how it goes.
No, I like to go out on a date. If I like her, I marry her. It's that simple.
Where's Donna's number?
Maybe not the best approach to relationships.
Not at all. My advice to a client recently was just sleep with them. Don't date them.
Oh, God.
And that's not normally my advice. But if you don't drive the car, you're the person that goes into the car dealership. You haven't even taken it for a spin and you buy it. Well, what happens when it breaks down later? Is it the car dealership's fault or is it yours because you didn't test it? It's yours. You have to know what you're getting into. And you're only going to do that with a little bit of time and experience.
That's why I buy the extended warranties.
Of course you do. Of course you do. So I just want to make sure that I covered what was asked. Letting go strategies of letting go. Okay. So my letting go strategies for you would be to look at if this soulmate was a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Obviously, you broke up with him, which we're both curious as to why, or the two of you aren't together anymore. It actually made me think of when you go to the beach and you have one of those, because that happened to me. I've had the love affair at the beach, and it's just not possible, and it's so romantic, because of course you're not paying attention to any of the negative things, because you're in this romanticized illusion of a relationship that lasts a week.
Well, and the other thing is maybe she wasn't involved with him. She says it was a short relationship, right? So maybe she never got out of the honeymoon phase of that relationship. I'm really curious now, the more that we're talking about it. Well, why did it end? Why did it end?
I'm having a theory. It possibly ended because maybe he wasn't free. And maybe that was and I'm not saying you're
either
a cheater,
free,
Ivory.
No, either free, not he was already attached, or maybe he was emotionally unavailable also.
I think he was probably emotionally available, but I have a feeling he wasn't physically, relationally available. That happens to a lot of people where they're in transition of they're about to get divorced and they're not happy in their marriage, and they go and they seek out an ex-love, or they find somebody and they think that the story is, I'm going to leave my wife.
We are speculating about this.
Yes, we're totally speculating.
I think that she should reconnect with you and just let us know what the reason is, because I'm sure now everybody in our community is also curious.
Well, but I want to address that because this is a very common story. There's a common story where people are connecting and the other person's not completely free, and they go down the path of this fantasy life that doesn't happen because the person actually hasn't committed. So not to speculate or to put any judgment on any of that. Because I know that I actually have clients in this situation and past friends and people that have experienced this, and I think it's kind of common. And when we're coming from the place as a woman, when women and men are so, I'm going to use the word desperate, when there's a lack of trust and such a desire, and I'm going to say a desire that is untrusting, okay? One can want to be in love. I was writing in my journal every night with the very, very strong desire to get the relationship that I wanted. Simultaneously, I recognized, even though I had no evidence of it, that I knew 100% I would get it. When you have desire that's fueled by anxiety because you don't trust you're going to get it, then you attract unavailable men, unavailable women, situations that you, again, project onto that could be the answer to all of your problems and your loneliness. This is where working on yourself and having that relationship with Source and with Universe and with, really getting to that place of trust is super important. So my letting go strategies would be to do the emotional work on what happened in that soulmate relationship. Was he a reason, season, or a lifetime? What was he there to teach you? What were you there to learn? Why are you in this relationship now? Is it something that you're going to continue on? And where are you missing your own connection and trust in your own path? And that's really what it comes down to. We talked about that on a couple shows ago when I did a whole solo show about trust and what anxiety is and what lack of belief is. It's a lack of trust. And we all experience it from time to time, and we need to be reminded about it. And so I'd invite you to look at relationships that are working, whatever inspires you. Read the testimonials. Go look on a search on the web. Read and listen to podcasts about relationships. There was a podcast I listened to. I don't like it now, but at the time it felt very empowering to listen to relationships that had overcome some pretty bad things. And that might be something that could inspire you. And then do what we all know we're supposed to do with law of attraction and focus forward. Focus on what you want to have and allow it to unfold. Allow it to happen. If this guy is not it, you'll move on. Something will happen and you'll leave yourself open to trusting. And when you feel lonely, remember that you're focused on the lack of having what you want. Loneliness only means that you don't believe you're going to get what you want. Because if you want company, if you want companionship, you have friends and family and coworkers and people who you could go spend time with and not be lonely. If you remember who you really are, which is part of Source Energy, you're God. So you're not going to be lonely because there is no lonely. You are everything. You are everywhere. So just check in with what the story you're telling yourself is. Is it that you don't believe that you can get what you want, that it's never going to be better than that? How is this situation wanting you to grow? Doug, any letting go strategies?
Just let go.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's constructive. Yeah, let it go.
Just gotta do it. You got to get through it to get to it. You do what you need to do. It's really hard. I mean, when you're going through some of the stuff, you feel like you're going to get caught in there forever. I mean, I can remember going through heartache. It just feels like you're going to stay in that forever. You just feel empty. You don't feel that you'll ever get through it. You have no hope of the future. And, I looked at it and just thought, okay, well, therapy, support, time, counseling, those are all going to be things that are going to help me get through it. And they did. And a supportive person in my life.
Okay. I hope that today's show helped both of you. And I hope no one was offended by our hypothesis of some of the situations that are going on. And if I nailed it, if I got it and I nailed it, let me know that too. Because it is, maybe I'll even do a show on that. Because that has to do with our self-esteem as well as that lack of trust. When we allow ourselves to sort of connect and be vulnerable with somebody who's unavailable, when there's always an option for them to go back. Now, the only thing I'll say about that is that when Doug and I got together, I knew based on time that the likelihood is that my relationship was going to go down the path that it was on. I, however, believed that Doug's path was going to change. I thought, for sure, his ex-wife would change her mind.
Because no one would let go of this.
Well, I mean, you'd only been married for 2 years. The way that all happened was so abrupt and sudden. It felt like a reaction. And I thought, well, she's going to come to her senses and she's going to come back. And at that point, I got to work on my trust in how things were going to unfold by telling him, do you remember what I told you?
Yeah, I don't want to be the default. And when she comes back, I want you to go.
Right. So here I am having a great relationship with this man, but really feeling like his wife's going to wake up and she's going to say, hey, I made a mistake. And I'm getting ready to just enjoy him for the moment and send him on his way, send him back to the East Coast to work out his marriage and possibly never see him again in this way.
That call never came. It still has never come.
Right. Well, but the act and the practice of really trusting and being totally okay with a couple different scenarios. One scenario would have been, yeah, we were rebounding and we helped each other. We were there to support each other during this time, and it was supposed to be a reason or a season, not a lifetime. And I got okay with that. Now, would I have been sad if he left? Of course, but I was prepared for it. In fact, I even welcomed it. You know why I welcomed it?
You welcomed it because you knew you could handle it.
And
I have no idea.
because I knew it was a better choice. Let's be honest. I knew I was a better choice because you had back pain and you had bad communication and you had anxiety through the roof. You came here and you have no back pain. Your anxiety was like down by 60%.
You're still the better choice. You're still the better choice.
Well, we are a better fit is the point. And better fit because we want similar things. We're willing to do the same work. We have better communication, energy, and there are more similarities. And our wounds are more similar than your ex's wounds and my ex's wounds. So at least, based on that, I knew that. And if you didn't want me, if you wanted to go back to have the dysfunctional lack of communication that you had, then I don't want you. Because if you couldn't see the difference between healthy and unhealthy, then I was okay with that. So this is where you have to, I was given that opportunity to really work through that, and I appreciated it. I really got clear with it. It felt really good. So just know that, ladies and gentlemen who are out there, when you feel your heart has been ripped out and that there's no hope, just know that this is all to make you stronger, to get you in touch with who you are, your own self-worth and value, because if you don't have that, you cannot create a good relationship on a shaky ground of giving of yourself to the degree that you lose yourself or that you don't honor who you are. You have to honor who you are first to have a healthy relationship long-term.
Agreed, 100%. Game over.
And show over. Okay, everybody. So if you have any questions, go ahead and send us an email through jjflazanes.com or jj@jjflazanes.com. Do we want to talk about the couples retreat?
Yeah, totally. We have been remiss in mentioning that at any point during this show. So let's make sure that we get there because we have gluten-free pancakes and chocolate chips ready to go.
Doug has decided he's making paleo, gluten-free, dairy-free chocolate chip pancakes at the couples retreat. I know that is a reason for you to come hang out with us. But
the coffee's really good. Too. I know I'm going to make really good coffee too. I am a kick-ass coffee maker. Thank you.
We're going to get you a chef's hat.
Yes.
And an apron.
You had to think about that word, apron?
I did.
Send me my spatula.
Yeah. So if you're interested in joining us for the couples retreat, if everyone who has applied and passed the test, so to speak, takes the offer, we're full. But in all marketing and good marketing, I know that's probably not going to be the case. So go ahead and submit a application in case one of those spots open up for you. You can go to jjflazanes.com/couples retreat or just go to jjflazanes.com and under the events tab, you can get to the questionnaire that will either qualify you or not to be a part of it. It's a house in Palm Springs. There's going to be 4, 5, or 6 couples that will be there. And I just want to make sure that we're very choosy about who comes. And I'm sure you can understand that. I'm sure you're going to want to hang out with the best quality of people. Now, here's the thing, not that people who listen to the show aren't quality, but here's one thing you can rest assured on. I haven't really promoted this couples retreat to anywhere else. So if you're coming, you know that everyone else who's coming listens to the show.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Not only great food, great activities, great support, a lot of learning, a lot of education, a lot of couples work that's going to be going on. I know it. I've seen JJ do many things with support, education, continuing learning, and she's amazing. And just that alone is worth it. I mean, the fact that it's in an amazing place in Palm Springs, a beautiful house, great food, all prepared by JJ and myself. It's going to be great. I'm going to make you laugh. She's going to make you learn. And we're going to have a great time together.
Do a little dancing, do a little hot
tubbing. Oh my gosh.
Do a little napping, do some cards, have some Palo Santos, do some smudging, welcome in the new year in a clean new energy, wanting to start off with some positive momentum. And it isn't
and free sparkler send-off on New Year's
Oh
Eve.
my God, I got to buy that. Oh, I didn't even think about that. You're in charge of that.
Sparklers?
Yeah.
God, sparklers are so easy.
Okay, great. You're in charge
Okay,
of that.
I'll be asleep at 9:30. Just so
You really are. You really won't be. You will have failed if you were asleep at 9:30. So, we want to do it. Again, I don't know how often we'll do it. So if it speaks to you, I would definitely recommend. It's not only will you have the learning time, there's some downtime, there's some pool time and hot tub time and dancing time, and there'll be cooking classes. So while Doug just said we're going to prepare everything, we're going to have some cooking classes.
Yeah, I forgot the
So-
whole music thing. That's right. Don't forget my 30 years experience as a DJ. Holy wow, we're going to have such a great time. The laptop spinning tunes. Maybe I'll even bring some lights.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to
It's
get
gonna
crazy.
be totally cool.
But for those of you, I know a few of you who have reached out also even just want business advice. Let me tell you, this will be the best place to get free. It's not really free because you're paying for it, but you're getting any kind of advice you possibly want or need
Coaching.
from both of us while you're with us celebrating the welcoming of 2020.
Over 1 billion served.
So, jjflizanes.com/couples retreat. And we'll see you here next week.
Bye, everybody. Love you.